Hello, this is Firefighter, co-host of the Public Safety Future Responders podcast, back with another edition of our podcast main series, episode 5 of our season 2, with my fabulous co-host, Medic Dog. What's up, Medic Dog?
Nothing much. I am back. I apologize about my absence from the last episode. I had something that I had to deal with that was very important, but I am back and I'm so excited.
Well, welcome back, Medic Dog. And folks, guess what? This is October. This is the month of October, and we all know what goes on in the month of October besides the spooky Halloween season. But we also have to talk about something important relating to the public safety, and that was Fire Prevention Week was held last week for the United States between October 8th and October 14th. So in honor of that week, episode 5 will be discussing topics relating to safety practices in the autumn season relating to fire prevention. So, folks, we all know it. October, it gets warm. It goes from warm to chilly. And month of October, it comes along with your smoke detector needs batteries changed. Change your batteries on your smoke detector because you don't want to risk yourself having to be not being able to be woken up in the middle of the night by a fire because your smoke detectors are not working. So, folks, change your smoke alarm batteries twice a year, once in the fall and then once again in the spring. Every time we do a clock change, which is very annoying, I understand, but do it for safety reasons so that way you all are able to be awake and can get out in case of an emergency. Another thing, folks, I hate to say this, but we've seen it lately in the fire service. If you got a candle, before you go to bed, do us all a favor from the fire service. Extinguish your candles, extinguish your fire pits, whatever you have for a flame, extinguish it. Don't leave it on, because then you're just going to have a burning problem. And if you go to bed and you leave the candle on, chances are your house might catch fire. Am I right, Mad Dog?
Yes, you are right about that.
And as we go right along, we're going to start with the kitchen because that's where most fire problems always happen, in the kitchen, according to statistics. Folks, if you have a stove and you see the little red things that are next to your stove, if you don't got one, those are called fire extinguishers. For those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, because some of y'all probably forget, always keep a fire extinguisher nearby, especially in the kitchen, because you really need it for that stove. In terms of that, and of course, common sense, folks. I hate to say this, but don't leave a fire unattended. Regardless, if it's outdoors or indoors, don't leave a fire running. That goes for fireplaces, candles, pretty much you name it. Anything that has a flame, extinguish it. And make sure you have something to extinguish it with. And of course, as usual, you should be doing this all year round. But in terms of Fire Prevention Week last week, create a fire escape plan. Make sure you have 2 ways out. Either that's through the front. Make sure you have a pathway out the front, out the back, and for the emergency escape windows for the bedrooms as required by the fire codes. And of course, for those, I'm not trying to be picky here or call them out, but for all those people who have fireplaces in your house, use fireplace safety. Whether that's a grate in front of it, or make sure you have an amber protection. To let it out. Don't I know a lot of people like to do fireplaces, especially now as we go from the summer weather into the winter weather, and as we get chilly, leaves are falling. So, and yeah, the other thing, when it's cold outside, don't you want to be warm? Well, guess what? Check your heating protection. I know that's a little joke, folks, that I'm trying to do for that, just to make it drum my point across. So, anything else you want to suggest or recommend in terms of fire safety practices?
I think you pretty much hit it all. Firefighter Tiger, I think, I agree, change your smoke detector batteries every year, 2 times a year when we do a clock change, even though it's annoying, but, still do it. But also, you should also practice fire drills in your house like you do at schools, because you want to always know how to get out when you're at home in case of an emergency. So I do recommend practice fire drills when you can.
Right. That's a good point. And then, of course, we all know it. We all know month of October. It's the spooky season. It's the haunted season. It's the cold season. Y'all get the point. we're going to talk about Halloween decorations. Yes, I know this is fun, but guess what? In terms of having fun, y'all got to be safe. And in terms of JohnHopkinsMedicine.org, aka the HopkinsMedicine.org website, in terms of Halloween decorations and fire safety, dry flowers, crepe paper, corn stalks, and decorative scarecrows may make your house look festive for the fall. However, those classic decorations can also pose a scary fire risk. According to the National Fire Protection Association, the NFPA for the United States, yay, NFPA, woo, says flammable decorations are the first things to ignite in 900 reported home fires each year. 2 of every 5 of these incidences start by a candle. Which, folks, it goes right back to the point I just said earlier in terms of candle. If you're not going to have a candle lit, extinguish it. Don't leave it burning. Unless you plan on being near it. Which, okay, if you're going to be near it, that's good to leave it lit. But if you're going to walk away or you're done with it, extinguish it. Don't forget, extinguish it. Otherwise, you're going to have a problem. Like it is, house fires, most causes are usually your candles being left lit and your house burns down. And then you got your insurance company that says, oh, what caused your house to burn? They're going to go, my candle was left on. Your insurance company's going to love you for that one. Decorate safely and keep the following tips in mind. Don't put decorations near open flames. Duh. Hello, people. It says it right on the box about that. And other heat sources such as light bulbs and heaters. Check that any decorative lights have been tested for safety by a recognized testing laboratory, aka the Underlabs Writers Laboratory, which is the little circle with the UL on it, to name one. Examine each set of lights for broken sockets, fried wires, or loose connections, and discard any damaged sets. If you got like a broken set, throw it out. Don't try to be a hero and try to save it. It ain't gonna work, folks. You're just gonna get yourself a whole lot of problems. Be careful not to overload sockets when plugging in lights or other electronic decorations. Yes, folks, I think for those of us who probably know the redneck song, the line goes with the fact if I got my son inside, plug it on. Yeah, you don't kind of want that happening because then you're just going to cause your whole neighborhood to go out and then you got the whole neighborhood trying to do the same thing. Ain't going to work out. Because then everybody's going to be doing the same thing in the window, just going in and out with the plugs. And then when you're out and about, guess what? If you got those lovely pumpkin lanterns that you got for your Halloween because your kiddos want it because they want something fun to decorate, consider glow sticks or battery-operated candles instead of real candles when lighting your jack-o'-lanterns or other luminaries. If you do use real candles, light them with long fireplace-style matches or a utility lighter. Keep lit decorations off of doorsteps, yards, and sidewalks where excited trick-or-treaters may knock them down and cause your whole house problem. Yes, my dog, do you have anything you want to point out for that?
Yes, I 100% agree with the battery-powered candles because if the pumpkin was to fall over, nothing will happen. You just put the batteries in, turn the switch on, and voila! It's still, you still got the same effect. Right. But just nothing will happen if it gets knocked over.
Right.
So I completely agree with that idea.
Yep. And in terms of, we go from decorations on your house to the costumes your kids are wearing. Just a few safety advice for those people, for families who love to have their little ones dressed in Halloween costumes, which, by the way, folks, I find that so adorable. Avoid costumes with loose trailing fabrics or other hanging parts which can catch fire on open flames. Check the labels on costumes, wigs, and props to make sure they are made with flame-resistant or retardant materials. Double check that the eye holes in masks are large enough that children can see and avoid any trips or falls or brushes with open flames. If visibility is an issue, use makeup or face paint instead of masks. A lot of face paint, folks, I will be honest, are made for that purpose of being used as skins. But if your kid is allergic to even the face paint, also I would highly recommend check the face paint backings because they are supposed to have backings for listing allergies and everything else. In terms of crossing roads, provide flashlights or glow sticks to carry for lighting, and use glow-in-the-dark reflective tape on costumes for extra visibility near roads. Folks, yes, I want to also highly mention the fact of On Halloween night, which is October 31st, or whatever date your state picks, because not everybody trick or treats on Halloween, because like it is Halloween right now this year for 2023 in the United States is on a Tuesday, but most states will probably push it off to a Saturday because the kids are supposed to be they don't want to have kids trick or treating during the school week. Folks, if you're driving, be on the lookout on Halloween night for trick-or-treaters, because there are a lot of foot traffic, especially when there's trick-or-treating going on. We don't want to see car accidents, especially on Halloween. Most of the time, police departments will be out in force. So don't be stupid. That's all I say is just don't be stupid. If you're going to think about it, don't. If you're going to do something stupid, don't. If you're going to be an idiot, definitely don't be an idiot. Not that I'm trying to make jokes here, folks. I'm just kind of making sense. I'm just trying to put out the sense there to the fact of, if you're going to think about doing something stupid, please don't. Because then you're just going to have a lot of problems. And you don't want to see the red and blues in the back, because then you're going to have that nice Halloween ride to the police station with a Halloween tail following you for the rest of your life. Yeah, hello, I got arrested on Halloween night because I was an idiot kind of type story, and we don't want that. That was a joke, folks. Please don't be, don't take that seriously. But still, actually be serious. But that's just a remark, jokingly.
One thing I'm just gonna say, Firefighter Tiger. You watch any Halloween movies? Because I do, all year and every year during Halloween. What you see in the movies and what you see in the shows, please do not do it at home.
Right.
Please do not try it at home.
Yeah, if you see a crazy guy with a chainsaw chasing after you, call the police.
Yeah, got that right.
Even if it's your neighbor who's being crazy, still call the police for a wellness check. Please, just do it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, folks. I'm sorry, folks, about that. But and then of course, like it is, the usual conversation of fire safety before you head out with your kids. Reminding them to stay away from open flames, which technically, folks, you shouldn't be a dummy, because technically fire prevention is supposed to be serious. And of course, the usual stop, drop, and roll. If you're on fire, stop what you're doing, drop to the floor, roll. Or if somebody sees you on fire, feel free to take the nearest object, like a blanket or a jacket, and smack them with it a few times. Yes, they're going to complain that you're hurting me, but in a sense, it's to put the fire out. This is a great time of year for adults to teach children about fire safety, as well as first aid measures if someone gets hurt.
I actually have to say, Firefighter Tiger, some fire departments go to schools and teach kids about fire safety.
Yeah, that's another thing, folks. During Fire Prevention Week, there were a lot of fire departments that were going into schools, and like it is every year, we do fire departments around the country, around the United States, and possibly around the world, do go into schools to kind of help kids, educate kids in terms of fire safety, what to do in case of fire, what to look out for, and all that. And then we are going to actually move on to a different thing in terms of Halloween, besides Halloween. Fact of, you see those trees outside, folks? They're changing colors. They're going to drop to the ground. And you're going to be raking, blowing leaves with your blower, leaf blower, whatever. Folks, falling leaves are often the first signs of the seasonal shift and more of yard work. As the pile of raked leaves build up, you're faced with a new problem: how to dispose of them. Folks, please remember, do it safely. In terms of burning them, make sure you have a burn permit. Contact your local fire marshal or your local fire department for a burn permit. Don't be stupid and try to burn it yourself without a burn permit, because then in case of a fire, a lot of fire departments are going to come to you and go, "Hey, buddy, you have a burn permit for that?" If your answer is no, you're going to be in trouble, because a lot of towns do exercise fines in terms of not using a burn permit. That's why towns and cities issue burn permits, so that way it protects you in case something goes wrong, and it's legal, and you're supposed to follow the conditions within the burn permits. Don't skim read those. It's very important. So basically, folks, if you're burning leaves, it may be tempting to throw trash onto the pile, such as household garbage, construction debris, or old paper. While leaves and grass clippings can be disposed of burning, we caution against burning trash, which can result in unpredictable explosions and emit toxic fumes. Folks, clear as point. If you're going to burn leaves and grass clippings, go right ahead and do so with your burn permit. If you're gonna throw garbage, don't take that to your local dump. Don't dispose of it and burn it properly because they have their protocols in terms of it. Burning materials such as yard waste, grass clippings, and leaves may be permissible depending on your town's ordinances on open burning. Do not use flammable liquids to ignite the debris. Keep an eye on the fire at all times and be prepared to extinguish it at any moment. If the wind picks up or the weather changes, an open burning can get quickly out of control. Folks, basically, when there's the red flag warnings, I will be honest with you, if there's a red flag warning, that's an indication for you not to burn. Even if you have a burn permit, one of the conditions is if it's high winds or there's a red flag warning, aka when the fire danger is high, they'll issue a red flag warning. Don't burn because you could possibly ignite other dry materials around, or the embers could fly to something else and catch on light, can catch it on fire, and then you got a bigger problem than your own little burn pit. So, if you don't want to burn leaves, which is A-OK, right, Mother Dog? It's A-OK.
Yeah.
We got 3 different options, according to HopkinsMedicine.org. You can recycle, schedule a pickup, or call a yard waste or junk removal service, which you can just look that up on your local town's website and contact your local town for those services. Because not all towns offer those kinds of services.
You can also vacuum them.
Ooh, yeah.
They have leaf boxes with vacuums on them.
This year. I think so. And, of course, basically accidents sometimes happen despite our best effort. If you experience a painful burn, contact your doctor or go to an emergency room for care. You can go to the urgent care offices or the emergency departments. And, folks, that will do it. One last thing I will talk about. We will be since we are going into Halloween season, coming up Monday, October 30th, this podcast recording is going to relate around Halloween. We will be breaking from our norm and actually talking about Halloween safety in terms of what public safety highly recommends in terms of Halloween, since Halloween will be out on that 31st, so we will be issuing a special podcast bulletin on that. So stick around for that at the end of the month.
I'm looking forward to it.
Next week, October 23rd, we will be having our episode 6 of our podcast series, so stick around for that. That is going to be another fun one because we will be diving a little bit more into Halloween safety. So basically, episode 6 and 7, we'll be talking about Halloween-related advice and tips and tricks of the trade that fire departments, police departments, and emergency medical services would like you all to know. So, folks, stick around for that, and we will see you all on another edition of our Future Responders podcast, of our Public Safety Future Responders podcast. This is Firefighter Tiger
and Medic Dog,
wishing you all good day, good mental health, and we will listen and tune in to another episode of it coming up next on next week's timetable. Have a good one, folks.
Goodbye, everyone.